There's Fern. Oh my. Oh, there's so much happening. Oh no, she looks scary. The philosophy of refined simplicity. The pinnacle of complexity is refinement, and that is refined simplicity. Through this less is more approach, you can actually cut through seemingly complicated and complex problems. Less is more. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated psychotherapist. This episode is transformative in its sense that it's where instinct, memory, and emotions fuse, demonstrating that true strength lies in embracing what we've been long suppressed. Assassination Zero is a sponsored tier of this video. Appreciate your support. Shout out to the best patron family, and let's tune in. So this is continuation of last episode towards the end. This episode is called The Height of Magic, which I'm guessing foreshadows Frieren the Slayer. I think the title of The Height of Magic, I think symbolizes and represents Frieren herself, because she is the last lineage of a green mage, and she also represents the pinnacle of magic, regardless of the fact that if she is the most powerful or not. On the pinnacle, there lies a few, and Frieren is without a shadow of doubt one of the few top mages of the era. Very excited for this. Oh, let's see. Whoa, what is that? Jeez, listen to this. Oh my gosh, what is that? This is so epic. Sorry for muting this climax. Oh my gosh. Look at Frieren's face. Wow.
I cast this pact.
What happened to Fern's critical hit? There's Fern. Oh my. Oh, there's so much happening. Oh! Zoltrak AK-47 didn't work. Okay, perfect defense. Jeez. Okay, that would have been too easy. Whoa, I'm gonna have to rewatch that in my own time, because holy crap. I don't know what that magic was happening with that little fireball with the eye in the middle. It almost looked like she was creating some sort of a black hole, like sucking everything in to create some sort of a vortex. And obviously we saw Fern trying to use her Zoltrak AK-47, but it was blocked perfectly by the perfect replica. And as they said, it is as expected, because by default, Frieren's perfect replica both represents and resides within the height of magic, as the title suggests. One thing I do want to say is when Fern said she blocked it and Frieren's that's as expected, I wonder if a part of Fern was expecting that hit to land. I mean, to be fair, the way how episode 25 ended, I really thought it was gonna land, because that's what the setup is. But I should have known. This is a humbling moment for me. If the show makes it seem like it's about to kiss and tell, it never tells. That we should have known, because Frieren is masterfully defying every trope there is. But I wonder if Fern was actually expecting to land that hit or not. And I wonder if Fern was also humbled by that perfect defense, by the perfect replica of Frieren, just as I was humbled, because it was blocked perfectly. So what do you guys think? You think Fern was expecting that to land that hit, and whether she was humbled or not? Methods observation. She is methodical, and I'm guessing her name means method. Let's go, Laween. She can go ice skating in between fight scenes. Right. Synchronized weaknesses. Yes. Oh, nice.
を正しく選択すればこちらは幾分か有利に戦える
Oh, so many peak fight scenes. This is amazing.
一人で勝てん相手には数で対処しろ
Kane. Oh. The method replica. I still don't know where her magic is. Just methodically observation, analysis.
面白いほど楽に戦える
Female Bruce Lee. Oh.
これなら複製体たちを抑
Apologize for muting bunch of music, of course. Go Dunkin' Donuts.
健闘を祈る
懸念が一つ受験者よりもわずかに少ないです
This is flashback to before they started.
である前世さんの複製体の反応が見つかりません確かに感知できないね前世の複製体は
Yeah,
さす
where
が
is she?
に感化できない攻撃される形になったらフェルンを守りきれないし、最悪二人とも死ぬかもフェルンさんとデンケンさんの複製体の位置も把握できていません
おう
し精度の高い近距離探知で探すしかありませんね
So does method specialize in detection
でもい
magic?
らなかったんだがな。
一級魔法使いは理不尽なほどの逆境でような存在で
I
なければなら
suppose.
ない
I guess.
この程度は逆境ですらない
I'm guessing Zenze, as some viewers pointed out how to pronounce her name properly, since S is Z in German pronunciation. As Zenze also pointed out, which is similar to the philosophy of the other proctor. As a first-class mage, it's not just a privilege. It's a milestone and representation that you're at the height of the magic. And I think that's what the title suggests. I initially thought title was only alluding to Frieren and her replica being at the pinnacle of magic or the heights of magic. But I think as Zenze said here, all first class mage in theory is also first class. They're at the pinnacle. They're also at the height of the magic. And of course, Frieren and them, they're above that, I believe. I wonder if that philosophy is embodied by Zenze and the other proctor, or if it's ubiquitously held by all first class mages. And as we also established in the show so far, the type of magic they acquire and cast is a reflection of their personality type, the type of mage users they are, the type of people they are, influence and dictate the type of magic casters they become. So I wonder, A, do you guys think that's an arrogance by them, that philosophy? As first class mage, you should be able to overcome any unfair obstacles. And this isn't even challenging to be considered to begin with. Is it an arrogance? Or is it truly some sort of a dispositional perspective they have only once you get to first class mage? What do you guys think? And to extrapolate that to our modern context, I wonder that's the perspective and the limitation of people with higher SES, socioeconomic status, people who are born into more privileges, or not even born into. People who've acquired more statue, influences, wealth, influence, and anything in between. Over time, those people get more and more disconnected from the reality of other people. I'm not saying that it's not earned, because I'm sure they worked hard for it, like celebrities, national athletes, and anything in between. Because of their hard work, plus genetic lottery that were gifted upon, because to be a world-class anything, you do have to have both genetics and effort. You need both to become a great, period. So even if it's earned over time, it is inevitable that they will get disconnected and feel further and further from the reality of other people. If you've been a millionaire for so long, if you've been wealthy and affluent, and you have all these people saying yes, there's a concept called acquired narcissism. Definition right here. Acquired narcissism is very commonly seen in the actors and actress realm. In Hollywood, a lot of actors and actresses, after they've made it, become famous, acquired immense amount of influence and affluence, a lot of people come to their lives saying yes. They're surrounded by yes men and yes women. Could be their executive assistants, could be their publicists, could be their booking agents, could be you fill in the blank. And when you have all these people saying yes over and over and over again, when you're living in this artificial bubble where no one dares to challenge you, no one dares to say no, they do nothing but bow their heads, literally or metaphorically, and they say yes to everything you have to say, you become extremely self-centered. You become extremely narcissistic because that's the power of environment, which is what we call environmental feedback or epigenetics. Definition right here. So through this epigenetic change, through this environmental feedback, many famous actors and actresses from Hollywood and similar fields become an acquired narcissist. And I wonder that's a similar perspective and phenomenon that a lot of first-class mages fall prey to. Because they're first class, because they acquired the most potent and attractive and powerful spell from Zenzei, they inevitably become a subset of the most powerful and influential people in this world. And in turn, they're surrounded by other yes men and yes women, with my real life example. It's a depiction of that by Zenzei, or is it just a true, appropriate, and understandable philosophy that first class mages beholds? What do you guys think? One last thing. One of the few exchanges of Law Ween and I think Duncan, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Law Ween and Kanye, when they were fighting and they're like, I can't believe how easy this is. Remember, the strategy were initiated by Duncan and everyone else, and they agreed to went after and fight against the weak links against their own self-aware weaknesses. Because replicas have the same weaknesses as the original people. That makes sense. But that comment in passing, A, is to spotlight amazing teamwork. Shout out to Duncan and his analysis and thinking. But 2, it shows that no replicas are actually perfect. Sure, through this magic, through this monster, they might have replicated, air quote, perfectly their memories, their personality traits, and their magic type. But in reality, if you're a copycat, if you're a replicate, you cannot be perfect. And it speaks to how uniquely wholesome and how wholesomely unique every single person is. And this is the reason why all of us, we may want to be perfect, but with my call to action and my urge with last episode, perfectionism is an illusion. Perfection is an illusion. Don't strive to be perfect. Strive for progress. Because even with these air quote perfect replicas, they're not perfect. And they're still being defeated one by one by these original team members through their teamwork and strategy. So no such thing as perfection, even under the disguise of the seemingly air quote perfect replica magic.
それに仲間の背中を守るだけで合格できるんだ。実に優しい平和な試験だ。
Relatively, I suppose. Oh, nice. Great teamwork. Another comment, quick pause. Can we talk about the masterful writing and setup by the authors? All the teams that went against each other here in this pause scene, Law Ween against Richter. Richter almost killed Law Ween and Kanye in the first part of the Mage tournament. But now in this labyrinth, they're forced to work together. So A, it's a masterful irony, but 2, it talks about the importance of letting go. Let go of our biases, let go of our past. The past is a part of who we are, but it's not the most defining characteristics of who we are becoming. And to become who we strive to be, we must let go of who we once were. Case in point, the enemies that fought against each other are now working together to defeat their new enemies. Beautifully written.
倒した。でもいい気分じゃねえな。
Oh! Laween! That's Zensei's replica, the hair magic. Oh my gosh, they're on complete different level. Oh my gosh. Get out. Oh my gosh. Oh! Hurry! Duncan, can you come to the rescue? Oh, nice. They got out. Okay.
間に合わなかったか。だがわしが加勢したところで結果は同じだっただろう。背中を向けているというのにまるで好き。
That's crazy, dude. Truly representative of first class mage Sensei. Quick pause before Ubel and Lance join the fight. And also, is this about to be a showdown between Zenzei versus Ubel? That would be epic. We shall see. But also, is this a true Four Eyes Lands, or is this another clone of Lands? Since I've been asking that question since episode 23, I believe. The last thing I'll say is the reason why Richter said that I don't remember neglecting any mana detection. So despite his fruitful effort or diligence, Zenzei Replica were still able to ambush and pierce through both his chest and Lao Win's chest through that hair-piercing magic. This is a beautiful callback to earlier episode when Zenzei was fighting against the Hypnosis mage and the One Punch Man looking mage and the Pringles dude with the Pringles mustache. I forgot you guys' names, apologies. Remember her commentary about superhuman imagination and superhuman control she must be exerting to be able to control and visualize the manic particles onto her hair? Because hair is uncountable, literally. There's countless amount of hair. So for Zenzei Replica to exert and use her hair magic speaks volume, pun intended.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
About her voluminous mana particles and her mana presence and her ability to manipulate and control magic. I think that's the reason why, despite Richter's diligence with mana detection, the replica Zenzei was still able to successfully create an ambush scenario and defeat Richter and Lao Win. And at the end of the day, you could have the best strategy, best teamwork. There are certain chasms that cannot be overcome. In this case, I think the chasmic divide and the gap between Zenzei, who is a first-class replica, versus Richter and Lao Win are simply too great. And that verifies based on what also Duncan said. Duncan's like, even if I came on time, I wouldn't have made any difference because Zenzei is just all too powerful. But now very excited for the showmanship of Ubel and Lands. And I wonder if three of them are going to work together and what sort of a showdown we'll be witnessing. Very hyped. Dunkin' Donuts. Why is Ubel so casual?
承知の上だ。
ねえデンケン、これってダンジョン攻略に必要なことなの？
今フリーレンが
説明はいい。必要なことなの？
Jeez.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
そうだ。
なら私が倒すよ。
Wow.
と言っているんだ。この中で一番強いのはデンケンだ。第一、お前はビアベルにも勝てなかっただろう。
そういうことじゃないんだよね。
How all works.
確かに私は未熟な3級魔法使いだ。デンケンやビアベルよりもはるかに弱い。けれども全然相手なら勝てる。
But she killed that first class Proctor mage last time, right?
得意魔法はこれ。大体何でも切る魔法。
What?
私が切れると思ったものは何でも切れるし、切れないと思ったものは全く切れない。
それが
Wow.
何だって言うんだ。防御魔法で簡単に防げる魔法だ。
そういえばメガネ君はビアベルとの戦いを見ていたんだっけ？
Four eyes.
あ、防御魔法って魔法を防ぐためのものだからね。切れるイメージあんまりないんだよね。
そうか。ならどちらにせよ前世には通用しない。観測できるだけでも防御魔法に匹敵するほどの魔法が何重にもかけられる。
Wow. That impeccable micro control.
の話なんだから。
おい、待て。
Hold up. What is going on? What's up with Ubel's delusional level of confidence we're seeing right now? And I want to zoom in and double click on what she said. This is not how it works. So first thing what she did is she was gauging and getting a confirmation of the necessity of this fight. I think this is a callback to that episode, Necessary Killing. I think she needs to know that this is a must, not a choice, but a non-negotiable scenario where they must defeat Zenzei Replica. And Denken confirms like, yes, we must. Because Frieren is fighting against her replica and the rest of them must defend against that. Even though Ubel is like, nah, don't tell me more, just answer my question. And the answer is yes. So she internalized the fact that this is a necessary and out of necessity. Second, she said that this is not how it works. On the surface, I am a third-class mage, but as we know from the show that she was disqualified 3 years ago because she killed that first-class mage proctor. And as we know that all proctors are first-class mages. So that speaks volume and suggests that somehow Ubel has this untapped or hidden potential within her that maybe stays dormant, but out of necessity, out of some sort of intensive or intense scenarios, she can summon up that potential, which allowed her to kill that first-class mage proctor. And to kill a first-class mage is not the same as defeating a first-class mage. She's somehow even margins above, not just to defeat one, but to kill a proctor. So I think here we're getting ready to witness her true potential, blossoming of her suppression or repression, blossoming of her dormant potential by releasing her emotionality and her emotional intensity to maybe set the stage by ultimately defeating Zenzei, the replica of a first-class mage. So here's my question though. We've learned last episode that Ubel exhibits some sociopathic ASPD traits, but she's not a full-blown sociopath because A, she's a feeler, and B, her magic, the mechanism of her magic requires empathy. And one of the viewers pointed this out, and I do want to zoom in on this because I might have conflated the two in the previous episode. There are 3 types of empathy. Level 1 is cognitive empathy. Definition right here. Empathizing someone on an intellectual, cognitive level. Like intellectually, I'm understanding where you're coming from. That's cognitive empathy. Level 2 is emotional empathy. Definition right here. It's empathizing someone truly on an emotional level. Right? That's what I was referring to in the last episode. But here's a 3rd level of empathy. Definition right here. Compassionate empathy. It's not just resonating with someone. It's not just empathizing with someone's emotional contents, emotionality, but acting upon that empathy by being compassionate. So level 1, cognitive empathy. Level 2, emotional empathy. And level 3, compassionate empathy. This is also a 3 pillars for empathy development, since empathy can be developed and further cultivated. So that viewer, I forgot your name, but that viewer, that person was suggesting that Ubel still might be a sociopath because she can tap into cognitive empathy, but not emotional empathy. I think I need to see more data and more information because there's not enough information for me to distinguish the two. But with that being said, here she was saying that yes, on the surface, I'm a first-class mage. But when push comes to shove, which is in this case, I will be able to visualize and imagine that spell to cut through anything I wanted to cut through. So what does that mean? Her imagination is predicated and conditioned upon the intensity of her belief. And another quick fun fact, one of the main brain default networks that we have is called salient network. Definition right here. Salient network is a part of our brain network and default brain network operations that makes us aware of what is relevant or salient, right? So salient network means whatever we place our attention for us to deem that as necessary, important, or relevant, our brain looks out for more of that. We also call that priming. Definition right here. Priming or conditioning our states. So I think what Ubel is doing here, and maybe part of the underlying mechanism to her magic system and her magic spells, is she must condition herself based on her salient network to see what is important and what is necessary. And once she conditions herself as such, I think she then can tap into her full potential. So it sounds like she's reconditioning herself and training herself to be able to visualize cutting through defense spells and to defeat the fake Zenzei. And to close out my analysis, I wonder if there's another psychological undertone of her emotional intensity. I think Ubel is extremely cognitive, we know that. She's very logical, we know that. She's very analytical, we know that. But remember, she's a feeler. Her magic is predicated based on her feeling. So I wonder, for Ubel to tap into her maximum potential, she must also, I guess, unleash her feeling capacity. And the more she feels, in other words, the more emotional intensity she's going through, the more powerful she becomes. What do you guys think? I guess we'll find out.
やっぱりソルガニールは効かないか。
Oh, she tried to use Verbal's binding magic?
やはり私の複製体の相手はユーベルか。
As she
勝敗
thought?
はすでに分かっている。
Hmm?
おそらく戦いにすらならない。
She thinks Ubel is gonna lose?
魔法使い選抜試験だった。
Oh no, she thinks Ubel is gonna win.
担当したのはブルグ一級魔法使い。彼は一級魔法使いになってから一度たりとも手傷を負ったことがないほどの守りにと
Damn! I love this backstory.
不動の街灯。彼が魔法で作り出す街灯はあらゆる攻撃魔法も通さないほどの防御術。
What? What a tank!
フリーダム、フォールスデータライブ、シースルー、パラノーマルイントゥイション、グレーターレジスタンス、マントオブカオス。
試験の内容は街灯をまとったブルグに受験者が攻撃魔法を放ち
That's the test?
終わらせたら合格という極めて単純なものだ。殺害行為を失格とするルールに攻撃魔法の最低限の制御を促し他の受験者を守るための措置だった。
Immovable cloak. What? Another pacifist. Was Berg also a pacifist like Zenzei?
僕の心配などしていなかった。切りすぎちゃった。
What the heck?
それを3級魔法使いになったばかりの無名の少女があっさりと殺してしまった。失格処分だって話だよね。分かってるから。もう帰っていい？一つだけ質問がある。どうぞ。不動の街灯をどうやって打ち破った？
Great question.
ゼンゼさんって裁縫とかしたことある？いいや、それがどうした？家柄良さそうだもんね。それともそういうのは魔法で全部やっちゃうのかな。
Interesting.
私も不器用だからそういうことはしたことないんだけど、姉貴がよく裁縫をしているのを見ていた。布を裁断するときってさ、ハサミをこう入れてシャーって切るんだよね。
True?
とてもいい音がするんだ。私はあの音が好きだった。話が見えない。イメージの話だよ。布っていうのはさ、切れるものなんだよ。切れて当たり前のもの。
Because cloak, immovable cloak is still cloth.
出ている。
Interesting.
確かに布を切るイメージなんて誰で
Interesting.
もにだってできる。だが魔法の世界はそんなに甘いものじゃない。
Epitome of feeling.
できないものは魔法では実現できない。小さなアリが巨大な竜を踏み潰すイメージができないように、鉄壁の防御術式で守られたあの街灯を切るイメージができる魔法使いなどほぼ存在しない。魔法使いなら一目見ればわかるからだ。それこそバカでもわかる。人が知性を持った生命体である限り、そのしがらみからは
Interesting.
それでも彼女は自らの感覚に従った。これは切れないものだと知性では分かっていながら
There's so much content in this scene and flashback.
イメージを構築した。もはや人として成立している精神状態とは思えない。
She's an anomaly?
これは才覚の領域だ。もう言っていいかな。ところでゼンゼさん、綺麗な髪の毛だね。手入れとか大変でしょ。もしかしたら私はあの時点でもう
Wow, goosebumps. Oh my gosh.
ユーベルには勝てるイメージが湧かない。
What?
相性が悪すぎる。みんな頭を使いすぎなんだよ。
Dude. Full body goosebumps. Oh my. OMG, dude.
地獄だよ。考えたくもない。
Alright, I have to pause because I might lose my train of thought. There's so much packed in that flashback, callback, and that split second fight. So let me start by going back to the visualization and Zensei's commentary about how Ubel is either an idiot or has a superpower that is not confined by social norms and her imagination. I guess the reason why she was able to defeat Zensei so effortlessly or seemingly effortlessly is similar to what Ubel said. If I can imagine it and visualize it, then I could do it. She was able to visualize her ability to cut through cloth, which was the impenetrable defense spell by Berg, Immovable Cloak. As immovable and impenetrable the magic defenses were casted upon that cloak, cloak is still cloth, and cloth can be cut through scissors, period. And that's the foundation of Ubel's ability to kill Berg instantaneously, because cloth can be cut through is Ubel's operational point. A level beyond that, she also knew instinctively that she could defeat Zenzei, because Zenzei's magic is her hair, and scissors also cut through hair, and hair is to be cut by scissors, period. And as both Ubel and Zenzei knew, Zenzei did not stand a chance against Ubel. And that's that superpower Zenzei was talking about. But here's a level deeper. I kind of want to go back to my ASPD diagnosis for Ubel. I just obtained another data point and criteria for Ubel. She just displayed another ASPD, antisocial personality trait, which is the first two words of the diagnosis, AS, antisocial. And clinically, antisocial means an individual's ability to go against established social norms. We're supposed to wear shoes outside. We're supposed to be respectful towards strangers. We're not supposed to be stealing. We're not supposed to be punching random people at sight on the streets. We should be working from 9 to 5, whatever it is. All of us, as long as we live in a society, because the society is comprised of people, all of us must, to a certain degree, abide by a set of established social norms. It's not good or bad. Humans are social creatures, and as social creatures, we need to abide by this invisibly established social norms and social contract. And when you violate that social contract by committing a crime, we as a society put you on a timeout, aka put you in this confinement through social isolation away from the society until you pause, think, reflect, and are ready to reacclimate to the social norms. We call that jail or prisons. Jail and prison is literally a collective decision to put someone on a social isolation, a timeout away from society. So that's antisocial. Anyone that goes against established social norms. And individuals with ASPD diagnosis, their foremost criteria is antisocial. They do not go with, they're not conforming to established social norms. They don't care about collective social values. And why am I talking about AS, antisocial? Ubel just displayed antisocial traits. Remember what Zenzei said? You're either a moron who doesn't understand that you cannot just simply visualize cutting through immovable cloak and impenetrable cloth magic, or B, you have a superpower and your imagination somehow bypasses conventional knowledge, conventional and established social norms. That magic is not that simple. It's complex. But what does Ubel do? She bypasses all that complexity. She bypasses all that mechanistical understanding. To her, it's very linear. Point A to point B. Cloak is cloth, and cloth can be cut through, and hair also can be cut through by scissors. And that's how Ubel seamlessly defeated two first-class mages. First, Berg, and second, Zenzei. But the level deeper than that is because she is antisocial, or she exhibits antisocial traits. And that's the reason why she's not confined by conventional social norms. Maybe she has this ability to think outside the box, or maybe she's just antisocial in terms of her characteristic and her personality. She doesn't care about social norms. It's not that deep. If I can think about it, if I want it, based on my intuition, I will do it. And she did. It's a very, very interesting scene. And it makes sense why even before the fight, the true Zenzei knew immediately it's not even a match. I knew who was going to win. I thought she was saying that Ubel doesn't stand a chance. But in hindsight, she was saying that of course Ubel was going to win because maybe 2 years ago, Zenzei already lost because she could no longer imagine herself defeating Ubel. It's almost like Zenzei knows Ubel has her Achilles point, the perfect weakness because of Ubel's antisocial personality trait. Very, very fascinating so far. Hair is to be cut. It's not that deep. Just cut it. What's the big deal?
フリーレンがシュピーゲルを倒すまでの時間稼ぎをしているわけだ。複製
They all gathered. Nice.
なら話は早いですね。それではたった今ゼンゼさんの複製体が撃破されたようです。この魔力仕留めたのはユーベル3級魔法使いですね。
意外な結果だな。そうか、結構相性悪めだろ。
Verbal also knows. Wow.
じゃんけんのようなものですからね。
Pun intended. Rock, paper, scissors.
数が無数にあり、極めて複雑で難解なじゃんけんです。
Very true to method. She is methodically analyzing.
いいぜ、複製体の足止め手伝ってやるよ。俺は他人を信じるような太刀じゃねえが、ケツを振っている勝ち馬を逃すほどバカじゃない。
現時点で確実に足止めしなければならない危険な複製体は2体。
Denken.
このうちの1体、デンケンさんの複製体の場所は特定します。あなた方はそちらをお願いします。
Delegation. Great delegation.
体のフェルンさんの複製体に関しては私に
I don't know, dude. I don't know method. Fern's also pretty OP.
すのが上手みたいですから、さすがに見つけ出さないと奇襲で死者が出かねます。
Zoltrek AK-47. Not to be underestimated.
一人の方が魔力探知に集中できます。
結構強いわよ。
She would know.
私は多彩なので足止めだけは得意なのです。それに
I don't know, man.
高速
Okay, so quick pause before Method's ongoing analysis and planning. I want to zoom in on a crucial intel that Verbal and Method were sharing just momentarily ago. She's like, first of all, he knew that Ubel would defeat Zenzei's replica because he also has that understanding because he's the only mage from test takers that actually led magic core to fight against demons. So he is also extremely astute with his combat intelligence. But Method says something interesting. Magic is like rock, paper, scissors, but it's not simple. It's very complex with infinite possibilities. What they're saying speaks to another strength of Ubel, refined simplicity. Definition right here. Bruce Lee said this best, since I've also mentioned in episode 22 that Bruce Lee represents less is more philosophy, either with martial arts or life's philosophy overall. Another philosophy that I'm a big fan of for Bruce Lee is the philosophy of refined simplicity. The pinnacle of complexity is refinement, and that is refined simplicity. Through this less is more approach, you can actually cut through seemingly complicated and complex problems. Less is more. Often when you have a proper matchup, proper strategies, and this ability to cut through the clutters and cut through noises. That's what Ubel did. And that's what Method and Verbal are saying. That even though seemingly complicated with infinite possibilities, scissors still cut through paper. Rock, paper, scissors reference. So that's very, very astute of Verbal and also Method. And that's probably how they were like, oh yeah, with their post-game analysis, that's how Ubel was able to defeat Zenzei's replica. But even though they understand it, it's still extremely impressive to say the least. Second thing, Verbal is now going against Duncan's replica. So I think that's going to be another peak action scene. And Method tasked herself to go against replica of Fern. And I guess right before I paused, Method was explaining that she already tested with Miss Fern, that the binding magic does work on her. So I guess we'll see if that works out or not. But remember, Fern is not to be underestimated because she is Fern, the Zoltrek AK-47. She is a prodigy in every sense of the way, with her cognitive ability, with her combat intelligence, and her sheer mana capacity and magic capacity. So I'm very curious to see what the outcome of that fight is.
魔法が通じることは本人の体を使って確かめましたから。
Frieren's troll face. 頑張って。
ユーベル、これってさ、僕の見間違いじゃないよね。
だろうね。だってメガネくん動けないでしょ。
Already?
私の複製体が復活して。
Wait, I thought she died. What? Wait, they all came back.
ってもしかしてシュピーゲルとやらを倒すまで続くのかな。
Unlimited regeneration?
楽しくなってきたね。
まったくだ。
This is a marathon. Another quick pause. I want to talk about the symbolism and psychological spotlight of what I think is one of the true intentions of Labyrinth. I forgot it. I think either in episode 23 or 24, I talked about Labyrinth represents layers and layers of emotional suppression and repression and the seemingly void and indefinite depth of our psyche. Consciousness, but there's subconsciousness. Below subconsciousness, there's unconsciousness, what we are utterly unaware of. I think that symbolism of Labyrinth is back. When they thought they already defeated certain replicas of enemies through their fights in the previous episodes, they're back. They're being regenerated and respawned by the monster Spiegel. Yet, this goes back to survival psychology and the psychology of our psyches. When we think that we've done enough work, air quote, on our healing, reconciliation, loving ourselves, reconciling with our loved ones, like our fathers, like our mothers, anything in between. When we feel like we've done enough work, when we feel like we've, air quote, graduated and mastered our healing, our psyche produces something else because our human psyche is deep. And if we've been living 20, 30, 40 years so far, and we've done years of therapy, certain amount of healing modalities and so on, sure, we've done the work. But psyches encompasses so much more. Just like tip of an iceberg analogy. There's a tip, but there's an entire iceberg beneath the surface. That's what that hallway conversation denotes. Oh, you guys think you guys done the work? You guys thought you already defeated your air quote enemy by doing the work? Nope, there's more. And this is the beauty of Labyrinth and the symbolism behind it. Self-confrontation is never easy. It demands and requires tremendous effort mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. But it is worth it because every time they defeat their replicas, every time they defeat their enemies, they learn something new about themselves. Their process of self-discovery deepens. Definition right here, self-discovery. And the more we become aware of ourselves, the less we display unhealthy tendencies towards ourselves or other people. So self-confrontation only has upside, and self-discovery and the deepening of that process only has upside. And that's the beauty of the second part of May's tournament, self-confrontation through Labyrinth. Beautiful. Work never ends, guys. Work never ends. Oh. So many fights. Oh, now we back. Let's go, Frieren. Can we talk about the color difference, the visual difference, and the gap of magnitude with Frieren's fight and everyone else's fight? This is like everyone else's seems like child's play versus Frieren is like the boss fight. Unbelievable. Do what? She was right.
そうですね。もっと大きな隙があれば勝てるのですが。勝てるんだね。なら隙を作ろう。そんなことができるのですか？私が隙を見せれば、相手はもっと大きな隙を見せる。
She's the bait. Frieren is the bait.
集中すれば致命傷にはならない。その場合の作戦は
What? Whoa, so many colors. What is that?
勝てると思っているのなら勝てる。
What's all that color visual ways?
だって私はフェルンのことを舐めているから。
Wow.
それは良かったです。
What's happening? Whoa! What is that? Did they just break a dimension? What is going on right now? Listen to the music. Sorry for muting. Oh my gosh, what is that? What is this black magic? Did Zoltrak AK-47 lands? No, he didn't. Oh my gosh!
まだ立っている。でも致命傷
No
だ。
arms?
とどめを。
Oh no, she looks scary. What just happened?
何が起こった？攻撃された。
Goosebumps, what just happened?
魔力を全く感じない。この攻撃を私は魔法として認識できていない。
What does that mean? What? Whoa! They did it!
よくやった。
Wow.
あれを見せるほど追い詰められたのは80年ぶりかな。
80 years. Of what? What did you use? Pause before they defeat Spiegel, the actual monster itself. Aside from just peak fight scene, I don't know what sort of magic spells they were exchanging. Looked like some sort of a black hole magic, especially the black hole spell that blasted Fern away. But then Fern said, was that a spell? I couldn't detect it. It was invisible. Fern was just seemingly blasted away from nothingness. And we just saw Replica Frieren standing there without her arms, but with some sort of a magic casting aura underneath her, or that spell mark, whatever you call that. But here's what I want to say. Frieren said that, good job, Fern. It had spent about 80 years for me to reuse that. I think that's very significant. And there's two interpretations from that 80 years. Whatever spell she had to reuse after 80 years. Perspective one is maybe that's part of her emotional suppression. Maybe that's a spell that she used to defeat the Demon King, or maybe some other unpleasant battles of the past. Because obviously, whatever this spell was is extremely OP. So OP that the last time she used it was to defeat the Demon King 80 years ago. So the OPness is established, right? But why hasn't she used it? Perspective one is anytime she uses that spell, reuses that spell, it inevitably calls back painful and potentially traumatic memories of that battle 80 years ago, either against the Demon King or other demons, generals, sages, and so on. Because remember, magic is a display of mage's personality type and who they are. But personality type represents our upbringing. If you look up the definition of personality, whether it's clinically or literally, personality means, definition right here, personality is this constant, pervasive trait that's unmutable. Immutable, constant trait that we have of ourselves. That's personality. And part of that personality is our upbringing. Could be attachment styles, could be our trauma, could be our parents' genetics, and usually all of the above. It's genetics and epigenetics, as I alluded to earlier. So for Frieren to reuse that spell, the memories inevitably come back. And maybe it's unpleasant. Maybe that's part of the reason why she chose to not use that spell until now, out of necessity. Because that spell represents a memory that is unpleasant for her, traumatic or otherwise. That's a perspective. Here's another perspective. Is some viewers earlier in the series, when I first started this reaction series, some of them were asking and suggesting that Frieren might be autistic. Level 1 ASD. Definition right here. Level 1 autism spectrum disorder. It was formerly known as Asperger's, but now it was changed and modified in DSM-5, definition right here, to level 1 ASD. Level 1 simply means that it has very, very low bearings and low impairments to their everyday life. And many individuals with level 1 ASD is extremely gifted. Similar to L from Death Note series that I'm also currently reacting. I also gave him a level 1 ASD diagnosis based on the series so far. Some people are suggesting that Frieren might be autistic because of her lack of facial expression, her emotional disconnection, her lack of social cues, and so on. I did not agree with that speculation because I did not gather or witnessed enough clinical data that suggests she might be on the spectrum or autistic, as some people suggested. But for the first time, and this took 26 episodes for me to, I guess, gauge into a potential likelihood of that, here's what I mean. The second perspective of why she didn't use a spell in 80 years is because she took what her teacher, Flame the legendary mage, told her quite literally. What was the dying wish of Flame the legendary mage on that hill? The callback on that hill, surely or momentarily or however long before Flame passed away, is one, Frieren, please do not leave a mark in this world. And please leave a unconspicuous life. And many people said that that's a strategic parting wish by Flame because Frieren must stay hidden, must remain inconspicuous in order to defeat the Demon King. Very possible. Another possibility is Flame was jaded and torn by wars and battles and fighting her whole life. And she wished Frieren does not have to follow the footstep of her. Because Frieren is a byproduct of a peaceful era, a joyful mage who was able to visualize an era of peace by defeating the Demon King. So Flame wanted to spare Frieren of her jaded life because a lot of joy for Frieren for magic was lost and overshadowed by rigorous training to defeat the Demon King. They're both possible. But here's what I want to say. Another thing that I've noticed since the beginning of this series is Frieren does take a lot of things quite literally. Like that lewd potion spell allows them to see through clothes. I thought that Frieren was trolling, and every time she suggested that for birthday gift for Stark from Fern, I thought she was making a joke. But a lot of viewers like, no, she literally thought it's a desirable spell because of what Flame the legendary mage instilled in her. So if the viewers are correct, that means Frieren take things very literally. Either that spell gifted by Flame or to live an inconspicuous life. Two things. Those are the two shining examples. And as we know, Frieren followed through and implemented those things quite literally throughout. So if Frieren does take things quite literally with my case in points, that does suggest that Frieren might be autistic. Because one of the hallmark traits for autistic individuals is they take things very literally, which is the reason why many of them struggle with social cues, social adequacies, and other social norms. It's hard for them to sense and understand sarcasm, satire, comedy, because comedy and satire and sarcasm are not literal. It's very socially intricate to even appreciate that. And second thing, autistic individuals, many of them struggle with rigidity, being flexible. They are very inflexible. That's why when you switch up the routine, switch things up in autistic individuals' environments, they have a massive freak out. It's not their fault. It's their neurological wiring. And for them, it's viscerally and physically uncomfortable and even painful when someone switch up their routines and rotation. Like for one of my autistic clients that I work with clinically, our appointment's at 11 a.m. If I get there earlier by 1 or 2 minutes, and if I'm late due to LA traffic by a few minutes, he freaks out. And I don't take it personally because I know that's his autistic traits. Everything has to be to the T, very rigid, very inflexible. So if that is the case, then Frieren might, I don't know if she is fully level 1 ASD or fully autistic, but she might have autistic tendencies because, like I said, A, she takes things very literally, and B, she could be seemingly rigid emotionally and socially until recently because of her 500 years of social isolation and other storyline that's already been revealed. So pretty interesting so far. What do you guys think? Is Frieren autistic based on the criteria I mentioned, or is this yet another case of Benoit overthinking? Let me know. All right. Let's end this. Oh, that was so easy. Wow.
終わりましたか。
That Zoltrak AK-47 marks. I'm surprised Method survived. For the second time. Verbal the carrier. So this is the first time that this labyrinth was defeated.
君たちは霊落の王母を攻略した。
They all
一
passed.
級魔法使いに十分匹敵する。歴史に名を残すほどの偉業だ。
There's a third
約
phase,
束通
right?
り最深部にたどり着いた全員を。大
Congrats. Good job.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
それで一番の功労者はどこに行った？
Yeah, where's Frieren and Fern?
まあ、気持ちはわかるかな。それでは、第二次試験の
Frieren the troll, dude. What a clown. In the most loving way.
魔法まで使えるのじゃ。どうじゃ？すごいじゃろ。
That is impressive.
誰なのお前？
And
That's the hypnosis mage talking to Richter. One last thing I'll say before closing out this week's longer than usual. I recorded for an hour and 7 minutes so far. So I hope you enjoy my longer analysis. It's been a while. There are a lot more content to be analyzed in episode 26, as we're 2 episodes out from the end of season 1. I love that usually the setup so far for a fight in the first 26 episodes is amazing climatic build-up and very anticlimactic 5-second fight scene with the end, with absolute annihilation, usually by Frieren. Makes sense. Because as Fern said, wow, this is the height of the magic. This is the pinnacle of magic itself, which is Frieren the Slayer. This is the first time where that setup flipped. Instead, the build-up was extremely climatic. There's so much embedded in that, the emotional storytelling, the backstory, all that. And the fight, actually, what am I saying? Sorry, guys, I take all that back. I just proved myself. That is a typical archetypical storytelling setup so far. Climatic storytelling in the build-up and anticlimactic, very fast end scene. Because the ends of Frieren crushing the Spiegel was instantaneous. But to get there, it took tremendous teamwork, self-confrontation, letting go of their past biases and mistakes and resentments against each other, because they fought against each other in the first part of First Mage Tournament. But for the second part, as Duncan said in the beginning, let go of the past and work together as one. And through all this beautiful collaboration came the crescendo height, pun intended, of Frieren and Fern. The ladies of the hour defeating the boss, allowing everyone to pass their second test part. So I don't know what I was saying. I thought it was the opposite, but when I spoke it into existence, I realized it's actually very congruent in the past. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my analysis for this episode. Let me know about your thoughts about my potential level 1 ASD diagnosis for Frieren. Whether you agree or disagree, let me know your thoughts and share your evidence in the comments below, because I read all of the comments and I try my best to interact with all of you guys in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate you watching. Smash a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on my future videos. And as always, I hope to catch you in the next week's train of Frieren and Death Note's analysis. Thank you for tuning in. Till next time. Peace.